Why don't we start? This is the November 21st, 2022 meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll have to do a roll call vote if you can state your name and whether you're here or not. Tom?
Tom Reardon, I'm here.
All right. Mary Ann? Oh, you're muted.
Mary Ann Weatherall, present.
Chris?
Chris Plex is here.
All right. Corey?
Corey's here.
Eric, where did you go? Huh.
We have lost him.
Just taking the dog for a walk. Well, we still have 5, so.
Oh, he's like, let me promote him again. He must have dropped off.
All right, Russ Benetti here. The first thing on the agenda for, what is it, third time, Megan? Is the Paul Pratt Library. Megan, all yours.
Hi, thanks for having me back. I sent along a list of individually itemized budget items that I hope you all received. I'm happy to share my screen if everybody would like to take a look that way. Okay.
I just sent them out today, actually. I thought I had done it earlier. So pretty much seen it. So if you want to,
no problem. Let me pull that up so everyone can see. Okay. And let me
this project.
This bigger. So this is a probable cost analysis. It's just a little bit nicer version of what we showed you last meeting, but all the numbers are the same. I don't know if anybody, I won't read it to you, but if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Just out of curiosity, what is mobilization?
That's a good question. Carolyn, do you know the specifics on that one?
I think it's getting all the equipment to the site.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Setting up.
Gold star for Carolyn.
Excuse me, I have a 2-year-old sitting next to me. So I know we're asking for 125,000, and I do believe there are plenty of items on this list that can fall underneath that that amount.
What is your request going to be? Still the 125 or?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. And your total is?
So the total we believe is going to be about 370. But that is going to have furniture involved and some other items that are not listed on this particular list.
Did you build in any leeway on any of your estimates?
Yeah, well, they're all like a contingency. They're all estimated. We are looking for the, once we start fundraising, we're looking for that 370 mark, and that will build in some cushion for us.
Yeah, no, the reason I ask is oftentimes we will end up granting more than what you appear to need, just so that in the event there's overruns covered. If we give you, 150 and you spend 160, you'd be on the hook for everything $150 and over. But that way you don't run out of money and have to go back to town meeting the following year or 6 months later That's why I was asking.
Sure. Well, if you'd like to give us more money, we're happy to take it.
Gratefully and graciously accepted.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly.
We have friends who used to bust where they used to say, dollar bills, the noise of the coins takes from the music. So, all right. We've gone over this a couple of times, and I don't know if anyone has any questions. Tom, do you?
No, I don't. I'd be prepared to make a motion at the appropriate time, Russ, to support the proposal.
Okay. Why don't we go through the room and
Yep.
make sure everyone gets a chance to take a shot? Mary Ann.
I don't have any questions right now. No.
Okay. Chris?
No questions, Russ.
Okay, thank you. Corey?
No questions.
All right, well, nor do I. Your turn, Tom.
I would propose that we accept the proposal as presented.
Okay, do you want to add a contingency in the event that they need it?
I trust their ability to either meet their budget or raise the additional funds, so.
Okay. All right, yeah, well, they're coming up with 2/3 of this. Second? Okay, all in favor, we have to do a roll call. Ladies first, Mary Ann.
I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris?
In favor.
Tom?
Yes, in favor.
Corey? Russ Benetti, aye. I would say it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you guys for your perseverance. You had to come in front of us, what, 3 times?
Okay, it was worth it. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, any landing you walk away from is a good one. So glad we get that. Okay.
Perhaps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah. Huh. Must have a loose connection or something. Okay, next will be the Beechwood Ballpark. Michelle, are you going to do the presentation?
So I guess we're here again, similar to the library, to talk about the Beechwood Ballpark. I know the last time we were here, we talked about CPC willingness to only fund 50% of the project, with recreation funding a portion and the community fundraising for a portion of it. I guess what we're here for tonight is just to talk about if CPC is willing to fund 50% of the $250,000 we've asked for, and knowing that the other 50% will have to be a fundraising effort and some funding from recreation.
The last one I had was 220 to 240 for the funds requested.
So
240.
if we build in contingency, it would bring us up to the 250. But so it's really what the board's desire might be. If it's to fund 50% of the project at 250, that'd be great. If in fact the decision is to hold off until annual town meeting, it's really up to the board.
Excuse me, could you explain the capital budget review, the playground proposal? Could you explain this memo that accompanied this project today and explain what they viewed it as? And they said they weren't going to repair. They said that they were going to do only 30 or recommend 30,000 for repairs. Could you go over this for me?
Mike Dick is here and he's capital budget vice chair, so I think it would be most appropriate coming from him, if that's okay.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, okay.
Michael.
Everyone good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Anyone have a problem with Mike speaking on this matter? All the people in the room, he's definitely one of 2 that know what they're talking about.
Well, that's a stretch, but okay, I'll do my best.
Okay.
Capital budget received the original request as part of our preparations for the special town meeting. And two of us, myself and Ralph Dormitzer, went out to the playground to take a look at the equipment that's there. And we found that the equipment seemed to be in decent shape. And so we questioned the need to replace all of that equipment. We accept that there are parts of the equipment that need to be replaced, but not the entire structure. And so we agreed that better now to maintain the structure, and maintenance is a big deal with capital budget. We'd much prefer to maintain something than keep buying new. So we felt that it was right and prudent to support a $30,000 repair to what's there. Now we understand that there is a future requirement that's in the works for a different surface, but that's not in front of us right now. And capital budget is very keen to keep our spending, the town spending, really tight these days, particularly with major projects that are in front of us. So that's our rationale for agreeing that the playground equipment needs some maintenance, and we support and will recommend that that maintenance be done to the requested amount. So that's why I'm here. I wanted to, and Russ asked me if I would come and talk to you folks in person, take any questions or concerns.
A question I have is, does capital budget view this as a recreation responsibility, or does it view it as a CPC responsibility, given this notion of the equipment is functional by and large, that there's necessary, but whose responsibility is the maintenance and improvements of a public park?
It's the recreation department as part of the town, so we on capital budget expect that our town manager and the town manager department is going to come to us with requests for maintenance for every department, and we get them regularly. Whether it's DPW, facilities, schools, recreation, library. And we often will support, if we have a good presentation in front of us that is thorough and well thought out, and the money is carefully itemized, we generally are in support. And so to answer your question, Tom, we feel that CPC is there to administer the state funding that comes into our town according to their rules and their intention. And from what I understand, I'm going a little off topic here, but my understanding is that the state intends for CPC funds to be a contributor, but certainly not the full underwriter. That may be a philosophical difference, but I think certainly myself agree with that approach, and that a community should be expected to chip in, and that CPC can be a terrific partner for that, and many times over have contributed to important projects, not to 100%, to some portion, relying on the proponents to come up with additional funding. Since you asked.
Thank you.
I would say that's a fair assessment.
Okay.
And I understand that just from reviewing this proposal that the equipment is over 30 years old and was contributed from corporation. So it's already been, now it's been twice used. So they want to replace, they want to update it. And that it also needs to be inclusive playground according to, I believe, the ADA compliance for state in Massachusetts. And it's wood chipped right now. And I was just reading this through, they want to, an organization wants to maintain the wood chips, but I wonder if that's ADA compliant for wheelchairs as we look forward into the future. Will this, just talking this through, I'm just thinking this, I want to make sure that we make a good decision on this to make sure it's it's a compliant for all children going into the future.
Michelle?
What I can say is that at the present time, wood chips are an ADA accessible use for playgrounds. Massachusetts. Yep. What I can't say is what's going to happen within the next 2 years. There is something out there that suggests that only a rubberized surface will be ADA compliant. We've reached out to the state to confirm that. I don't have confirmation of that at this time. So at this present time, I can't commit to tell you that it has to be a rubberized surface moving forward. I can just tell you that wood chips currently are a form that's ADA accessible as long as they're maintained to a 10-inch depth.
Okay.
Yes.
And how much is it to approximately, just curious, to I think we covered this, but to redo a surface to make it rubberized, was that like 20,000? Was that?
Two estimates. One comes in at about 85,000 and the other comes in at 115,000.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add to something Michelle said about the wood chip depth. We requested that DPW regularly maintain that depth. We had heard in one of our hearings that, oh, well, the depth is not enough. And our reaction is, well, DPW should be reviewing, more than reviewing, should be regularly going out, just like they'll cut grass, is to make sure that the surfaces meets the standard and performs the function it's intended to, which is to cushion kids playing on that surface.
I don't know if that, in my observations, that's been happening.
What was presented at our hearing is that it's not deep enough, but from my late inspection, my observation, it looks pretty damn deep, and it's springy. When you walk on it, it's springy. It may well need a couple of inches, I don't know, but let's get DPW out there and have them check the depth, add the chips, and we've got ourselves a playground that's correct, for the people who use it. That's right.
So the select board, when we talked about this a few weeks ago, took a different position. The select board's been pretty clear about supporting the redo of this project. We voted on it. They tasked me with delivering that message to say that based on the board's priorities, updating this for ADA, improving the equipment is a priority for this board currently. The question that I think would be appropriate to ask capital is if the select board if CPC were to fund a piece and the select board were to work with neighbors, would it be appropriate for capital to deploy that as part of the redo project? Or is that money that you wouldn't, capital probably would not be willing to expend as part of a renovation versus just a repair?
I think we would be happy to review a new request. But the request that's in front of us, we've weighed in on, which is let's give them $30,000 to maintain the equipment. Was there a request for maintenance, or the request was for repair and you decided to go maintenance? That repair was built into the request. Okay, I understand. So, and I'm a little fuzzy, so help me out, Michelle. Sure. I think they were offering us options. Am I right on that? So one was to maintain and repair and replace those parts that needed replacing, or go for the full Monty. And so we opted, for the reasons I outlined, to go for the maintenance and the repair. And
these are fairly important distinctions, because one of the things that's clear in the CPA is that we don't do maintenance. And some of this seems to me to border, at least, on maintenance versus kind of capital. So
I think what's before CPC is a complete renovation, not the maintenance piece. I think what was before capital budget was a little different in the way that we presented the entire rebuild renovation project. And when capital budget said, if we're willing to fund the maintenance, is that an option? And yes, that's always an option, right? We want to offer the community every solution to get to the end. So when you offered that $30,000 for repair, of course, that seemed like it was the best course of action.
Is there a sense that this needs to be before a special town meeting as opposed to the regular town meeting?
Just for scheduling purposes and the special annual, we go through on a lot of different topics. In this case, a special town meeting vote basically buys us a year, where if the funding was available, construction could begin in the spring and be available for next summer. If it's annual, you're basically just setting up 12 months. You know, it's just 6 months equals, 18 months basically for delay. That's really the only functional.
Can I weigh in on that point? Sure. Capital budget, and I don't want to put words in the mouth of advisory, but I feel advisory also feels that special town meeting is for special expenditures that really were unforeseen in the previous annual town meeting. Special town meeting is there to help make up shortfalls or unexpected expenses. So we take, I'll say, a dim view of major projects coming in for special town meeting. In a way, it's not fair to our town manager's office to construct a budget for the spring town meeting and have many different needs addressed with the amount of money that we have, and then be confronted with a large project coming through off cycle, in our view, off cycle. So we prefer to see major projects and big spends come in for annual town meeting, where the project basically has to compete with other major projects. And there's a lot of vetting, as you all probably know, during the months and weeks leading up to annual town meeting, where we grill the proponents to really understand where's the priority. And so for that reason, I think we also felt, we on CPC felt that it's not appropriate for special town meeting to take up this very large expenditure because it's not unforeseen. It's something new that's coming in and should be at annual. Thanks.
Yeah, initially, when I first started with the board, we brought nothing to the special. And well, I would bring one in here and there, but I'd catch up for it. Hasn't stopped me yet, but yeah, that's why they call it special, I guess. Tom, anything else? All set?
Nope, thank you.
Yeah. Eric.
Yeah, good evening, Russ. I'm glad that all the other members of the commission have clarity on what we're doing here, because I certainly don't. On the one hand, I read a request for 240 grand to replace the equipment here. And then there's another note. It says that only $30,000 of that is needed for ADA safety improvements. And then we have members of the capital committee showing up and saying that a good deal of the existing equipment does not have to be replaced. So when I put all that together, I'm a bit confused as to the clarity of what we're actually doing here. If you asked me, I'd like to sit down and have someone author a memo saying exactly what we're doing here in terms of piece by piece projects and equipment we bring in, what doesn't have to be replaced, what is being replaced, and all that. So I'm just reacting to the input that's been sent to me, Russ. I think it's probably a good project, all right? And I support it, but what we're actually doing isn't very clear in terms of dollars and cents and where the money is going. So, and I trust that the other members of the commission who seem much more competent have a better handle on it than I do.
Not necessarily.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, and that's about all I have, Dad. It's unclear to me actually what we're doing, why we're doing it, where the money's going, and we have different viewpoints. But I do trust that it's a good project. I just don't know how it all comes together.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, the Beechwood, especially the ball fields and the basketball court, gets more use than pretty much any other one in town. Which, oddly enough, when Beechwood was developed with CPC money, that was a totally illegal use of the money, because at that time you could only work on property that for recreation that had been acquired by the CPC money. I found that out when we brought in the sailing club, because they're, great organization. Nothing says summer in Cohasset like kids riding around with life jackets on. But then we found out we couldn't do it. So yeah, I ate a little crow that night, and we put it off for a year, and we got it done finally, because now there's not a restriction that's on it. All right, Chris?
We've had some good points raised tonight. I appreciate the input. Two things in my mind that have me less enthusiastic about the project than I was before. And by the way, Eric, I agree with everything that you said. I'm also a little confused about what we're doing with this. The two things that I would point out are, it seems like if this were a standard project, there would be support for $30,000 for repairs to sort of bring it up to a baseline and keep up with the wood chips. And that would provide ADA compliance. And according to the email, many years of service. So I'm not getting the sense that the equipment is old or in need of immediate replacement. And I also think it was a great point that was brought up that during the regular budget process, there's some competition. Now, my kids are old enough that it's been a while since I've seen a lot of the playgrounds around Cohasset. So I don't have a good sense for which ones are more modern and which ones are more in need of repair, but I'm reluctant to support this without a better sense of whether or not this would be the best use of funds to update Cohasset's playgrounds.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Jenny, I see you listed, but can we hear you? Hello, Jenny? Guess not. Corey?
I think that from my point of view as a parent with kids, and we visit all the parks and we know all the families, this playground is drastically older and drastically behind, and I think underutilized because of that. I think that redoing this in a proper way would really be a crowning achievement for the town going next years, especially for that area. I do, I think the only benefit of doing it now would be to fast forward the process, but to, capital budget points and everything else, if this is something that we need more time on, then I would just recommend that the committee, I believe the line items on the warrant, the committee votes to, defer voting on this project until annual town meeting schedule. That way we have appropriate time to talk about it. We have appropriate time to look at the numbers and make a better decision, because we certainly don't want to be making a decision that we're uncomfortable with.
Corey, if that's a motion, I'd be prepared to second it.
That is a motion. Yeah.
Can you make it?
Sure. I will move that CPC moves to recommend this for further discussion to be brought up at annual town.
Seconded.
All in favor? Roll call. Tom?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Mary Ann, where'd you go?
I think she's on as an attendee. She might have rejoined.
Dropped off and I missed her. Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
Well,
Virginia, I'll try to do this again to you.
we're gonna have to.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So they're
So,
both done.
Russ Vanetti, aye. Corey?
Freeman's aye.
Okay. And Ginny? Well, I guess that's enough though, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we had 9, we'd have a quorum that way, or I mean, a majority that way. Oh, I would say we'll be visiting this over the winter and hopefully get it done in the spring. I mean, I think it's a great project. It's just a lot of questions that we need to get straightened out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Question.
Sure.
Who is the proponent? Who's the key liaison?
So the select board was the first person to engage with this project.
Okay.
Yeah. So the select board voted to support the project and recommended to CPC with the understanding that CPC could back with a funding amount that it would be comfortable with, and then we could work on those parameters.
So capital budget really wants to talk with liaisons well before we get a request. And we really try and go through all of the different hangups to give the proponent a chance to address concerns well before they come before us. So come on down.
Certainly, yeah, we want
meet with us.
We want to do it the right way.
It can be offline as well. It doesn't have to be in the formal meeting, but you know, whatever works.
Sure.
Let's keep a dialogue going.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda.
I'm going to say good night. Thank you all. Thank you all in CPC for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Many of you weren't there. Little thank you for it. You should have been there.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. See you on the street. Okay, next one. Did you ever send an email you wish there was an unsend button? Well, I found out that there isn't one. Not the first time, honestly. And God knows, may not be the last. But I cautioned people a number of times not to discuss things with each other because it could be considered a open meeting law violation. And there's a fair amount of people who think the one that I sent out back in October did just that. I don't know if anyone, if y'all are still familiar with it enough. If you're not, a Cliff Notes version. I sent out about the Beechwood Ballpark and how I felt about whether it was ready or not, and encourage everybody to do the same. Not the best move I've ever made, like I say, but I did it, and the end result is we are going to be having a meeting coming up with town council coming in to discuss the open meeting law. I would apologize that you all have to get dragged into this one. I was the one who made the mistake, but that's where it is. I know other boards have had similar incidents and not been hauled up like I was, and this committee is being held up, but that's a real later date. What I would propose is that we figure out a date for the open meeting law update, but I also want to include in that Stuart Saganor. And Stuart is the head of the CPC in Boston, not Boston's Community Preservation Committee, but they're an advocacy group that, believe it or not, there's no state agency that overlooks or watches over CPC. We pay dues to Stuart's organization, and we get a number of things for it. We get representation in front of the legislature. The money that we get in the state match can be directly tied to Stu and his gang of people. And we have a lot of fairly new people on the board. And I think it would be worth us all, and even the ones who've been here for a while, to have an update from Stuart. We can do, that's one of the great things about Zoom. Stuart lives up on the North Shore. He can do it from his house. But I'd like to throw that out. And again, my sincere apologies that my splash is splashing onto you guys. It's a disservice to the rest of the committee. Like I say, I'm the one who did it. I'll take full responsibility for it. But that's about it. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, which is about all I remember of the Latin Mass. So anyway, anyone have any questions? Tom? No? Eric?
No.
Yeah, so Russ, your proposal is to have a meeting where the open meeting law is presented and we, as a training session, is that it?
Well, Corey, is that what they wanted?
So, and this is, so CPC being the first one we brought up is more a matter of convenience than anything else. We've been advised by council that it has been way too long since we've given our committees the resources to operate properly. So this is a town-wide effort to try to improve the way that committees CPC out of convenience is really the first.
Yeah.
Did I answer that?
Russ, let me just say, it's taken me 5 years to feel comfortable with the open meeting law after all these site visits on Concom, where all the engineers and owners are asking questions and wanting to know whether we can do this and that. And finally is saying, no, you can't say anything, Eric. It's taken 5 years plus. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile having the training section because there are always new people who are unfamiliar with the details of it and the specifics.
Well, yeah, because you can, I had an open meeting law violation charged against me when I first started with the committee. And it was filed by me, which kind of baffled them at the AG's office when I said the same name about who I was complaining about is who I was. What happened was we go in front of the Board of Selectmen to make our pitch for town meeting. 4 of us showed up. Well, at the time, Lee Jenkins, who was on the board of Selectmen, was also on CPC. And it never occurred to me that he made it 5. Mary Ford, who was the great editor of the late great Mariner, called me the next morning. She says, I'm trying to give you a hard time or start any problems for you, but did you violate the open meeting law? And when she did the math out for me, I thought, damn, maybe we did. At the time, we were involved in a very controversial grant, and I didn't want anyone having any ammunition saying you guys follow the law when you find it convenient. And you don't, you stretch it a little bit. The end result was after the guy at the AG's office couldn't believe I was complaining about myself, was to send a letter saying, thank you for taking it seriously. So, you can do things that would appear to be fine. The reason we were fine is we didn't deliberate anything. And that's what separates that from the letter I sent out. I encouraged some deliberation. At mine, there was no deliberation. We all sat there and said, this is what we approved, and it went through. If you're on the agenda of another committee, as long as you're not debating or voting, you're fine. So, end result. Anyway, Mary Ann, any questions?
No, I'm pretty clear with the open meeting law. I have the book, but it always helps to review. So I'm supportive of it.
Yeah, Chris.
I think I'm all set, Russ. Thank you.
Okay. Corey? Okay. Anyone interested? I will go to the duck pond in the middle of the common, and you all can dunk me if you want. So anyway, do we have any members out there that want to make, public people that would like to make a comment?
Attendees, I don't see any hands raised, however. Nope, no hands.
Okay. All right. Then members' comments. Tom?
Nope.
Anything else to add? Eric?
No, fine, thank you.
Okay. Chris?
Not a thing.
Mary Ann?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Would you like a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, y'all better say yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, it's unanimous. We all want to get out of here. Thank you guys very much.